I'm just an idiotic, stupid dog. I got my producer breathing down my neck because some fool adherent, he's got to make some kind of stupid comments that it was too disjointed or it was too rambling. You never made the point. Son, we keep it ethereal so we could sift through the chaff. It's not supposed to be inherent or apparent so much, This way we can find out. If you can't figure it out, maybe you're like one of those dullards that could be a good worker bee. But in our case, what we do is we sift through the people who can get our meaning. And, the dummies who can't, we send to Fox News. All the the special people, the Asperger on the spectrum people like Elon Musk, we send them to MSGSC or whatever they call it. So, and some of the better ones, I don't know what we do with any of the better ones. In the old days, you could say CBS, but, even CBS is so bad. It's better than, whatever, it doesn't matter. But in the old days, that's the kind of thing that they would do. In the new days, you have an ugly, stinky, it's not ugly, he's a handsome man. He doesn't know how to shave, but he has weak whiskers. He's got a full head of hair, but she's like, he's got dandruff. He never wants to wash his hair. His hair's like greasy. He said that it's the only way I could hold my hair down. His breath is a combination of cognac, cigar smoke, I don't want to say what else, and a bunch of shitty food. The producer, they never humble themselves unless they're trying to make excuses for why they didn't do something they said they were going to do. If you're around a producer, get ready to be disappointed and badgered, cajoled. He hands me this freaking script. It's scrawled on a bunch of cocktail napkins. There's a waitress's phone number. He's got it starred off 3 times. He's got 3 stars. I mean, you had time to rate this girl, mark this piece of paper, and give it to me. Is this the only thing you got? Is a freaking, you're writing with a woman's lipstick on a cocktail napkin, and it's like cuneiform. I can't even hardly. If I wasn't a dog, I couldn't search my deep dog remembrance. Oh my goodness. So he says. So the producer says they were going to hire some people to do some analytics, but they couldn't because they didn't have enough money because they had too many bourbon parties, I think. And they said instead they're just going to start reading the comments. And one of the big comments was we were too rambling and too whatever. We couldn't get to the point. And I said, well, the reason we do that is so that we could sift the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. The idiots we send to Fox News, the dummies, the dullards, the people who think everybody should have a machine gun strapped to themselves at all times, and there should be stand the ground laws. You should dispense with the Bible or the other guy or turn the other cheek. You should have stand your ground laws. It's hilarious that way. It's much better. But if you have stand the ground laws, you got to have the machine guns, the big machine guns, not the kind you can shoot like 10 times. I mean, you hit the trigger, you want 1,000 rounds to come out and mow down 27, 30 people immediately. You don't want to make a statement when you pull that trigger. It's got to be 1,000 rounds every, 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds? I mean, you got to be quicker on the trigger, my friend. That's just what it said, But it doesn't matter. It doesn't. What the producer was trying to get the point across to me, he says, now there's a new white world. And the old white world was Trump white world where they hated Mexicans. And they kind of hinted towards, if we have to hate the gays, we will. And they were against guns at the beginning. Trump looked at everybody and says, I'm against guns when he's stupid. But then he became a gun-loving, he became a gunophobe, like a guy who wants to get screwed in his butt with a gun. Trump said, you're scared. You're afraid. You don't even know what's going on. You're afraid. You're afraid of him. Trump's like, I'm not afraid of nobody. And then he's like, oh, my God, I've been raped. He was raped with an AK-47. They greased it up and stuck it right up his wazoo. And they kept jabbing him until he said, I'll try. And he had an orgasm. First, so, it's... So anyways, when they were reading these, the producer said they were reading these comments, and the guy said, you can't get to the point. Your last post about white on white was too ethereal. No one could understand what it meant. And I said, let me give you a primer. It was the old days. Donald was against the Mexicans. Straight out, he started attacking Mexicans. That's how the RNC and the Republicans, they have to attack. The Democrats, we have to build up. The Democrats are, the Republicans we have to attack. Democrats, we have to build. Republicans are like, we have to attack because they have it already. They want to keep it. Democrats are like, we got to use it to do something because we don't got nothing. We got to see something. Democrats like, we got to build. The Republicans are like, we have to kill people because we already got it. We got the wealth. We don't need to share. We have to kill. It doesn't matter. But in the old days, it was, you could attack blacks, you could attack gays, whatever. Then it was different things. When Nixon came along, you were still attacking blacks. You were attacking crime, a generic crime thing that meant you were attacking everybody. So this gets to the white on white thing. Don't worry, adherents. It gets to the white on white thing, what's going on in Russia. So don't worry about it. But anyways, I'm giving you a primer. It's a history course. Back in the old days, you had your blacks. You were hating on your blacks. You obviously hated your homosexuals. You could kill them. You could lynch both these two kinds of people. Now, what I'm talking about is America. And when we go back to where it's Russia, when we have here, we flash forward to how Russia's doing white on white. They're doing all these same things to the whites. I'm just saying we're not doing that to, anybody these days, but we did it in the old days. That's the thing that the poor adherent who made the comment, you never made the point. The point is we used to do it, and we may do it a little bit today, institutionally, but in the old days we did it straight up. Everybody could accept it. It was vicious. It was horrible. America has always been a very rough and tumblesome sort of situation. But now, just so we don't lose our place, in the old days, I have dog remembrance. Remember, I'm just a dog, but I have dog remembrance. Look it up. Look back through our posts and figure out what dog remembrance is. I could tell what happened before I was born long ago. I'm only 15 years old. And I only lived, from now, minus 15. I have, I'm an old ancient dog, and I have dog remembrance. That's the only thing I got going for me. But, so, we're talking about who America could ball up, grind up, and haul off and make their cannon fodder. Throw them through the grist mill. Throw them through the meat grinder. Because what we're saying is the fact that Russia has put, and it's white on white crime because it's the only people they got to do it with. Russians are only white, so it has to be white on white crime. But it's elites because they're not doing it in Petrograd or Pomegranate-grad, Stalingrad, Stalinburg, Leningrad. They're not doing it where all the leader Russians live. They're doing it out there in the, the towns. All right, this is the other thing the adherent couldn't get. The regular people are the ones they're rounding up. They're hitting them with cattle prods. They're smacking them in the heads with sledgehammers. And when they get them over there to the front in Ukraine, the Russians get up squads of elites who run out there with their machine guns and say, run against them Ukrainian machine guns, or we'll gun you right down here in your backs with these Russian machine guns. And if you don't understand that, that's white on white crime. 15 or 20 Russian, in this case it might have been, a Wagner group was using skanks from prison, but whatever. They won't let the murderers go. Vladimir Putin said you can't have homosexuals and you can't have murderers. If you can't have murderers, you're going to have rapists, okay, and thieves. So they'd corral up some of these people, the Wagner group, and they'd say, we're going to shoot you if you don't run into that machine gun fire with them Ukrainians. 1 out of 15 always survived, so they always did it. Russians are that tough. Russians are this tough. You tell 15 Russians, you all run against the machine guns, we're going to shoot your ass right here. They're like, hey, I got a 1 in 15 shot. Hallelujah. They start racing towards the machine guns like in their glory. They're happy to do it. They love it. That's why they can do it that way. They can make cannon fire of their own people. Vladimir has killed 143. You think Vladimir, the old vampire, the Dracula character that came up with Vlad, the Impaler, Vlad the Impaler? Vladimir the Russian, he's killing 150 in like a year. It's beautiful. 150,000 white people. And it's the white people who are going to shoot the white people and give white people crime to white people if the white people don't run against the machine guns. And those 15 guys and all the guys behind them, the Russians, they're all permitting or producing white crime against the Ukrainians. It's where Ukrainians are white. Forget about that. Ukrainians are all shooting back at the poor sons of bitches. Like, oh my God, I got to kill these poor 15 stupid sons of bitches. The Russians don't even give them guns. They give them cork guns. They give them flares. It's horrible. So that's what I was saying white on white crime is. In the old days in America, we used to have not white on white crime because we had other individuals that we could use to do some, crime. We could, for instance, just as you would go, we said, in the old days it was blacks, homosexuals, Mexicans. Donald Trump was big on the Mexicans. the gays broke loose. The gays had the log cabin with the Republicans straight away, so they didn't have to worry about it. Sooner or later, they could get in there, they'd win. The transgenders are dragging the gays down, but the transgenders have fixed or adhered themselves to the lesbians and the gays, so they'll win. So they're going to have, it's not going to be one thing at the LBGTQPP whatever community. And then, so, and the gays, they won. And lo and behold, now Ron is going back, Ron DeSantis, the next president of the United States, he's going back to hating on the blacks. He's like, hey, it worked back in the 1970s. It worked for Nixon in the 70s. Let's go back to the good old days of hating on the blacks. You can't hate on the gays or the transgenders. You cannot hate on the fat people. God bless us. Like, I'm not hating on fat people, but you don't have to glorify fat people. It's disgusting. Not that the fat people are disgusting, but consumption culture might be disgusting. It doesn't matter. And the Republicans, they won the abortion. They got the abortion. They were milking the abortion for all their campaign, whatever. You could talk about abortion in the old days for a Republican not even a year ago, and you could make millions of dollars. Now you can't do abortion. You have to do. You got to go back to the blacks. Who else are going to attack? So welcome to 1870, America. We're back to 1870 and punishing the blacks. So anyways, and the producer, he was shaking his head like I was doing something wrong. I was like, hey, bud, you know what? I'm just an idiotic, stupid dog, but I have dog remembrance. I can piece it together. I see what happened in the old times, I mean, look it up. You can Google it. And I said, I'll put on my apparatus, and the producer started yelling and screaming at me. Stinky breath and spit was flying all over me. He said, oh, my God. He said, stop it. Hold the presses. I can't believe you, dog. You stinky-ass, stupid dog. Why don't you rub your ass on the carpet, you bastard? And he stepped back, and I think he just attacked me so he could. The whole room was watching him, but I think he attacked me so they would look at him. He was like a magician. He could have a drink of bourbon. He said, look at here. I told him right away. I said, don't pant when you drink your bourbon, And the producer was like, you dumb bastard. We can't get involved with all this ethnic politics. This time is over. You're giving a history lesson. We're not getting no new adherents. We're not getting no new subscribers. We're not getting no views. We're down like 15 to 30 views a post. I mean, we're drowning. And you're talking about a bunch of shit that no one wants to listen to. So I just looked at the producer. I was like, listen, son, you came to me and said I wasn't doing a good enough job. And so now you're going to start listening to the complaints or the comments because you couldn't afford to hire somebody to tell you how to do your job. So now you have to do your own job, and you're going to read some comments that you ignored up till this point. I looked at him. I was like, I'm just a stupid dog. But in 1965, nearly a quarter of the casualties, 25% for you imbeciles over there at Fox News who can't do this for yourselves, you have to be told something. 25% of the casualties were blacks. 25%. So you don't think we were running them through the grist mill the way the Wagner Group and Putin? And you didn't get it from what I said? You had to be explained openly? Asshole! It's all right. It doesn't matter. The good thing is America is a little bit better because only 7,243 African Americans died in the entire Vietnam War. Putin, he's clearing out his slums and his halfway neighborhoods, his working class neighborhoods, his good people joy neighborhoods, all his nice neighborhoods. He's just leaving the elites, Petrograd and Stalingrad. They don't have to serve. But he's up to 143,000 that he's killed his people. So that's disgusting. And I looked over and the producer was tapping his fucking thing, excuse my language, like a maestro, tapping his, his baton onto his musical sheets, looking down like I should look down. I was like, yeah, I'm looking down. Whatever. So I had to read something quickly that, actually this was my own research. African Americans were punished more harshly during the Vietnam War. That's a terrible thing. Just again to go back to the other form of, equating America to the old days. But America's different nowadays, so we can point our fingers at Russia. Russia's way behind. But they're also doing white-on-white crime. using white on white, killers of, whatever, implements of suicide. I don't know what you would say. It doesn't even matter to me anymore. You know, but during the Vietnam War, which is what we're equating it with, when the blacks were pushed through the meat grinder, they were treated much more harshly when it came to, they didn't desert, but if they ran away, they got scared, they got their legs shot off, a black guy might start crawling away. The white sergeant would come up and say, "What are you, stupid? You got to keep going that way till you're dead. You go that way." And it's like, oh my gosh, can I go that way? I have no leg. It's like, in the old days, we wouldn't have done it that way, but put a tourniquet on it at least. You're bloodying up the battlefield, the white sergeant said. Get your tourniquet on there, son. Jeez, crawl that way if you're a coward. Whatever. That's how they treated the blacks. And the blacks, they were okay with it at that time because they were coming off the 1950s. And the 1950s were a part of the 1920s, and the 1920s were part of the post-war Civil War. All those periods where lynching was, par for the course. Just figure that one out, okay, adherent? And this is what I might have didn't want to say. Lynching was par for the course. It's horrible. Doesn't matter. But whatever. It's okay. It's still the maestro, the producer, was tapping his baton on his, whatever you call it, where they hold the sheets of music. I thought it's like whatever you call it. It's a stand of some sort, where they have a book on it and they can fold it over. It's a bigger book. It's an abnormally sized book with all the musical writing in there. And they tap at the baton and they conduct an orchestra. But this producer, a stinky, stupid son of a bitch, who stinks like cigars and cognac out of his mouth and worse, it's whatever. He's a big an oral sadist, an oral satisfiest. I don't know what you call it. It's just disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. But he was tapping. I looked down at the last thing, and he came over and says, "What's the matter with you?" And I knew it was mad because he was like elite people, their stupid sons have to become producers or they have to go into the military. So I knew right away, oh God, he was saying, they made a reference to somebody who wrote notes down with lipstick on cocktail napkins. He said, "You gotta look at this shit outside. I mean, it's the whole point of the whole thing. What's the matter with you?" And I looked right at the producer and I said, "Oh my God, now I understand there's an inkling in you." The last thing I want me to say is the elites, because he comes from the elites. He knows the elites. It's the elites. The elites get out of all of it. The elites are like, "What are you, stupid? We're elites. What are you, cannot? We lead you in the war. We lead you off the precipice." The elite lemmings. They always run towards the ocean and they veer off at the end. They gallop towards the outsides. They start kind of in the middle and wade or fade to the outsides. They all stop short of the cliff and they're like, "Go, go, go." And they usher everyone off and they stop their own children and say, "No, no, no. We're not the ones who jump off the cliff. We're the ones who convince everyone else to jump off the cliff." And that's how it's done. So this is what I'm saying. You could be an adherent or you could be a lemming. But I'll never know which is which, and it won't make any difference to me. So